Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you. Okay, while more people are joining, if you are already here, please let me know if you can hear me well. Just want to make sure that my mic is working. If you can type in something in the comments like a thumbs up or something like that, that'd be great. Hello, everyone. I can already see some comments in the chat. That's awesome. Okay, perfect. You can hear me. Great. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. It's been a while since I went live on LinkedIn. I'm also broadcasting on YouTube, by the way. So if you're watching me on YouTube, hello. So it's been a while. And I'm really looking forward to this. You guys have been so great. You sent me your profiles way in advance. So I had some time to be a little bit picky and choose a few that would be great to review today. So many of you joining. That's so cool. In the spirit of building a community, let's share where you're joining us today from. So type in the city where you're watching me and say hello to everyone who's joining us today. By the way, I can see most of the comments with a little bit of a delay. So if I don't respond right away, that's because I haven't seen your comment yet. And some comments are displayed as LinkedIn user. I don't know why, really. Like I said, haven't been live on LinkedIn in a while. But anyways, we have Miami, Edmonton, Calgary, Denver, Halifax. Awesome. New York City. My God, you guys are all over. That's wonderful. Well, welcome. It's so awesome that we have so many cool people from such different locations today. So for those of you who may not know me, or maybe it's your first time seeing me on video, my name is Anna. I'm a career coach, and I talk a lot about LinkedIn. So if you're watching me for the first time, get ready, because there will be a lot of LinkedIn content that you might be seeing from me. And the reason for that is because I live and breathe LinkedIn. I've spent the last 5 or so years studying this platform inside and out. And I've turned it into the main engine for my professional development. And I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people and my clients to do the same. So I truly believe in the power of LinkedIn. I believe that that's an extremely valuable instrument for your job searching, for personal branding, for your career growth. And that's why I want to help more people build compelling profiles on LinkedIn and understand this platform better, and understand how you can leverage everything that this platform has to offer for your own career goals and objectives. So I truly believe that this is a really valuable instrument, and so many people are underutilizing everything that LinkedIn has to offer. From Dubai, we have people some more from Calgary. That's awesome. I'm also in Calgary, by the way. So that's pretty cool. Edmonton, Florida, Orlando. Woo, awesome. Okay, thanks for sharing, guys. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be reviewing real profiles of people who gave me their permission to review their profiles and to show them to everybody. I do believe that we learn best from specific examples. So I could spend this hour talking like theory and all that, all the things LinkedIn should or should not be. But I'd much rather spend this time talking about your profiles and how you can make the most out of them. And the reason why I actually decided to go live with reviewing profiles was because the other day I was filming more videos for my most recent series on how you can save time in your job search with the help of ChatGPT. Some of you may have seen that. If you have, say something in the comments. That'll be awesome to know that you've been watching those videos. I'm super passionate about ChatGPT. I can talk about that for hours. I'm not going to, but I could. I needed a LinkedIn profile as an example to film a video. Obviously, I was going to ask the person who owns the profile, so whose profile that is, ask them for permission if I could use them in that video. But my objective number one was to actually find a well-written profile, because one thing that I've learned about ChatGPT and AI in general, the quality of the output that you receive from it hugely depends on the quality of the input. So if you put a really badly written LinkedIn profile into ChatGPT or the resume or whatever content for that matter, and you ask ChatGPT to improve it, you're not going to see very good results. So my goal to film that video was to find a profile that is decent. So I'm not saying that it had to be absolutely amazing, but my goal was to find a profile that was well optimized and you could tell that the person takes care of their profile. And so I went on to search for profiles and I tried different job titles and different locations. I wanted to find a profile that I haven't seen before. And you know what? It took me longer to actually find a well-written profile on LinkedIn than to film the actual video. And that's when I realized how long it's been since I've just done general research on on people's profiles, because most of the time I see profiles of people who reach out to me or profiles of people I want to reach out to. But this was a really good exercise for me to see what else is out there, what kind of profiles I would be able to find if I just went on and looked for somebody. Regardless of the industry, I tried different industries, I tried different job titles in my search, different locations, and it was a struggle to find a well-written LinkedIn profile. That's when I was like, okay, we have to do something about that. We need to get some more people to understand how they're underutilizing LinkedIn and how their profiles do not do them justice. Because one thing that I've learned through my experience coaching clients for their job search, for their career development, is that each one of you, absolutely every single person, has something unique and awesome to offer in terms of your qualities, your skill set, your background, your experience, and your accomplishments. But your LinkedIn profile quite often does not reflect that, or does not get even close to reflecting that. So that's my goal for this live stream, and hopefully I'll do more. I'm thinking of maybe doing this on a more regular basis now. And so it's incredible how long it takes to find a well-written profile. So guys, we have to do something about that. I really want you to I want your profiles to be your biggest assets. I want them to sell you and to market everything you have to offer, so that people would understand what an amazing background you have and want to collaborate with you in whichever manner you wish. So if you're looking for employment, great. If you're looking for clients as an entrepreneur, great. If you're looking for partnerships or collaborations in your industry, so whatever that is, I really want your profiles to help you shine versus the other way around, where the profile looks so average, but the person behind it is amazing. But how is the rest of the world supposed to know that you, the person behind your profile, actually has so much to offer? The rest of the world doesn't know. So, oh yeah, quite a few people have seen my videos on ChatGPT. Yeah, that series really blew up, and I've only filmed, I think 8, and there's like 20 something more to go, 22 more to go. So yeah, it's gonna be great. Okay, so let's get started. Basically, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to bring up different profiles, and I'm going to start reviewing them section by section. And you will see the profile on the screen, so I'll need to coordinate the layout a little bit to see how I can make it work so that you can see the profile better. You can let me know what works best. Okay, so I'm going to start looking for our first contender today. Okay. By the way, I apologize in advance if something comes up like messages on my screen, because I'll be looking at an actual profile from my LinkedIn account. So there might be some other stuff that's in the way. So I'll try to get rid of that as soon as I can. Okay, give me 1 second and I will start sharing the profile on my screen. Okay. Let me know if you can see this well, because that's my hope. Because I can try a different layout. Give me 1 second. No, that's probably worse. Yeah, let's leave it like that. Okay, so the first profile, Monique. I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. I'm so sorry. Which brings me actually to a very good first point that I can contribute to improving your profile. So when you have a name that is spelled a little bit more complicated than average, and some of you guys have absolutely beautiful and fascinating names. It's just that for an average person, they might be very difficult to read and pronounce properly. So there is this feature on LinkedIn where you can add your name pronunciation onto your profile. I believe that it's easier to do that on your mobile, and maybe you can only do that on mobile. So you can actually use the app to add that feature. You have 10 seconds to record a short audio message that you can attach, and it will be seen right here next to your name. So right here next to the name of the profile owner, you'll see a little audio symbol. And if you click on it, you can actually listen to that audio message. And what I've seen people do, I've seen them simply record them pronouncing their own name correctly so that everybody else understands how to pronounce it properly. So that's one way to go. But actually, in those 10 seconds, what you can do is you can add a couple more words and make it more of a welcoming message. You can talk and say, hey, thanks for stopping by my profile. Let's connect, or something like that. So don't forget to use those 10 seconds to welcome people to your profile, and maybe even share something real quick with them. That adds that high touch that shows people that you truly care about their experience viewing your profile. And we always, you can always tell when a person invests in their online presence and in their online brand. So it's important. It's that attention to detail that can set you apart from hundreds and hundreds of other people who have very average profiles. So let's go with this profile. So the first thing that I can tell right off the bat, the banner image. So by banner, I mean this image right here at the top. I mean, probably it has some meaning to Monique, but I do believe that on LinkedIn, as more of a professional or career-oriented social platform, this space can be better utilized in the context of either your profession or the industry that you're in. So something that would actually be related or be connected to your professional background. And having a banner image is important, you guys, because it adds visual impact to your profile. Because imagine if you are a recruiter looking through dozens, if not hundreds, profiles in a day. So by the end of the day, all of them blend together. So if your profile stands out, not just because of the quality of the content that you have on there, so the quality of the descriptions and all the different sections, but actually there's also that high touch visual appearance to it. That's even better. That elevates the whole experience to the next level. So I would highly recommend customizing this banner image. Luckily, you don't need to be a super skilled graphic designer, or any graphic designer for that matter. You can use Canva, you can use different other tools that are out there. Some of them are free, and you can design a custom banner image that would actually be very much related to your goals on LinkedIn, or how you want other people in your industry or in your profession to see you. So that's point number one. The other thing is, so Monique and I are not connected. As you can see, she's my third degree connection. And that's why I believe in her privacy settings, she set her last name not to be visible to people she's not connected to. I would suggest that you edit your public profile settings so that most of the information, especially the basic information such as your full name, would be visible to everybody on LinkedIn. I know that some people are still concerned with some privacy and all that other stuff, but honestly, you guys, I think we're at that point where we live in a world where if somebody wants to find some information on you, they will find it. And everything else is pretty much up to you. So if you want people to find you, to be able to find you on LinkedIn more easily, if you want to be noticed on LinkedIn, if you want employers, recruiters, and other people to notice you, I think the easier you make it for them to find you and connect with you, the better. So make your full name visible to everybody. Now, looking at her headline. So headline is this section right here. The idea behind your headline is, again, that first impression that you want to create on LinkedIn, of course, but also this section is very important for your profile's search performance. So to put it in simple terms, imagine you're looking for somebody on LinkedIn and you're typing something in the search bar, like you're typing program manager, for example. That's the type of people you want to see on LinkedIn to check out their profiles and see if they are a fit for an opportunity that you have for them. Of course, there are multiple factors that affect the search results that you're going to see. So location matters, activity matters, skills matter, like different sections matter. But headline is one of those sections that matter the most. So you'd really want this section to be packed with keywords that resemble those searches that people would actually do to find somebody with your background. So that means that if you want to write a compelling headline, you have to think not like you think about yourself, because you can think in different terms or use different language to describe what you do. But you have to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who is looking for someone like you, someone, a professional with your background and with your experience. And you have to use their words in your headline to make your profile easier to find. And that's a very important thing. So as much as I appreciate that Monique included some things that I guess truly matter in terms of her values and things like that, it's very rare that a person would type in collaborator as their search term. So it could be an addition. Obviously, I'm not saying that your headline only needs to have keywords. There are different things that your headline can have. But here I can definitely see that it's not maximizing the potential for search performance. So ideally, if Monique is actively looking, if she wants to be found in her industry, or if she wants to transition to a different industry, she would need to have keywords that would be relevant to those goals that she has for her job search or for her next, like for the next step in her career. Okay, let's move on. So the about section. The good news is that the about section is written in first person, so that's great. If your about section on your profile, if you wrote it in third person, so you're talking he or she, or this type of professional brings this type of experience or background, that would give your profile a very outdated look. So that would essentially look like a copy-pasted resume, which your LinkedIn profile isn't, by the way. So I highly recommend to write in the first person to make your profile more engaging, more relatable, more personable, and to add that human touch that would actually set you apart from other people, and also would not be reiterating everything that a person can find on your resume. Because there are multiple stages of how people could be viewing your LinkedIn profile. They could be viewing it before they've seen your resume, or they could be viewing it after they've seen your resume. So you definitely want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile complements your resume, but it does not copy it word for word. So the good news that here Monique wrote in first person, so that's great. But generally speaking, I would say I would love to see some more focus on here. So I can see that she's talking about very general things, like, for example, adept at prioritizing and adapting to ever-changing business requirements, ensuring successful project delivery. Okay, got the point. But what kind of projects does Monique know how to deliver? What sets her project delivery apart from other people who do something very similar? So adding that important context can be a game changer. It can be something that truly sets you apart from your competition. Because let's face it, there could be people who do exactly what you do, and they do it pretty well. Doesn't mean that you are identical to that person, because the magic of how you do what you do actually lies in the context. And by context, I mean all of those details of how you deliver those projects, for example, or the impact that it has on the business, on the client, on stakeholders, whoever it is that is benefiting from your work and is impacted by the work that you do. So that part is really important. I can understand why you would potentially include some skills into your about section, like areas of expertise. But when you call something areas of expertise, essentially you're saying that these are the things that you know exceptionally well. So not something that you know average good enough, but you know something exceptionally well. So by definition, you cannot really have 100 different things as your areas of expertise. You can have them as your skills or things that you've tried or briefly interacted with in your work experience, but areas of expertise means something that you have in-depth knowledge in. So that's an important distinction. And for the sake of showing that focus in and that clear targeting in terms of your previous experience and the types of opportunities you're currently interested in, even if you're not actively job searching, that does not really matter. You still want to portray that focused, you want to make that focused impression of a person who knows what they're doing and who knows what they want next. So for the focus, that requires a much shorter list of areas of expertise. So it doesn't mean that you're not good at other things, but it means that you're selecting something and you're focusing on something that you're truly exceptional at and that matters in how you want other people to see you. Because otherwise, the impression that you're making is, something in line of, if you're good at everything, you're not really great at anything. So we don't want that. We want to avoid that. We want to have a clear focus on your profile from the very first sections. Okay, I'm going to check out her activity just to see if Monique is active on LinkedIn. Okay, so she commented on this event, so that's great. Okay, so there's regular activity in terms of engaging with some things. So commenting and liking, that's great. The reason why I pay such close attention to activity in general is because the more active you are on LinkedIn, the more LinkedIn is going to reward you as a user. And that makes sense from different perspectives, but the main one is because LinkedIn wants you to spend more time on their platform. As any other platform, that's one of their goals. So if you are more active on LinkedIn, you're going to have some perks that come out of that. And one of the perks that I've tested out is the more active you are on LinkedIn, the more the algorithm is going to help you out in terms of your visibility. I'm not suggesting that there is a straightforward link because by experimenting and testing and doing different things, sometimes it works one way, sometimes it works slightly differently. And recently, LinkedIn has been rolling out, it looks like it has been rolling out some updates. So things are constantly changing. But what remains unchanged is the more active you are, the more perks you're going to have on LinkedIn, including your profile visibility. And the other thing is, by commenting and engaging with other things on LinkedIn, you're training the algorithm to show you the stuff that you truly want to see. So if you ever thought to yourself, wow, my LinkedIn feed is completely useless, like I don't know what I can gain from that, that means that you haven't trained the algorithm enough. You haven't showed the algorithm what you like and what you don't like. And the only way how the algorithm can know is when you react to something. So by reacting, you're actually helping LinkedIn help you get more value out of it. So really, you're helping yourself. That's what definitely works for everybody, again, regardless of whether you're job searching or not, or what your goals are for this platform. Okay, so experience. So Monique has worked for some great companies. That's awesome. But one of the things that I see in her most recent experience, for example, is just one sort of area of her responsibility or of her job functions. Job functions are good. It's all great, but job functions don't set you apart. Job functions is something that any professional with similar background or a similar job title somewhere in another company can do on a daily basis. Again, the real differentiator that you have comes from how you do what you do, and most importantly, the value that that creates for other people. So really, if you want your experience to be marketable, if you want other people to look and say, wow, this is interesting, I want to talk to her, I want to reach out to her, you need to sell your experience. And by selling, I mean presenting the value that it adds. So I would suggest, Monique, that you expand on not just what you did at your current, well, it's not current really, but still, at your most recent role and the other roles before that, and you expand it to not just what you did, but also the value that that has created for the business. Here, it's a little bit better because at least we're getting some context around what was going on. So that is already adding some value in terms of understanding your background a little bit better and evaluating, whether your experience might align with what a potential viewer of your profile is looking for. But again, I'm not seeing any results. So if there are cost savings or supply chain optimization, then you got to tell us what that meant. Like, what kind of cost savings in percentages, or maybe it was, saved 5 times the cost or something like that, or 5%, doesn't matter. So at least there is that quantifiable element to it. And it will definitely make your experience stand out and make it a lot more marketable compared to 99% of other people who simply talk about what they did. So the main message here, if you want your profile to stand out, talk about results more than simply tasks. So not just what you did, but the value that that has created. Okay, so very similar comments would apply to other experiences in early years. So I'm going to just skip that and go ahead to the next one. Okay, so education. Okay, great. There's a Bachelor of Science, I imagine. Okay, so the skills section. As you can see, there are quite a few skills on here, but the very first ones that any viewer of your profile would see are the top 3 ones. So here we have organizational skills, we have collaborative problem solving, and sustainability. Do any of you do you think that these skills describe to us what Monique is truly great at? Anybody essentially can put down those skills. Like, I can put down that I enjoy and I'm good at collaborative problem solving. I can say that I have organizational skills. But does that tell you what I'm good at? Does that tell you what I'm looking for? Or does that tell you which industry even I'm in? Unfortunately, it does not. So what you want to have in your skills section, you want to have skills that are targeted to not only the job that you currently have or you've had in the past, but the job you want to have next. So if Monique has a certain target in mind and she knows that she wants this particular role in the foreseeable future, she would take the core skills that are needed for that role and put them as her top 3 skills on her profile. By the way, also helps with search performance. So you really do want to have that on your profile. Also, I'm not seeing any recommendations on this profile. So recommendations essentially are like testimonials of people who've worked with you or collaborated with you in some capacity. And those are super valuable and helpful actually for anyone who's looking at a profile, because it works in a very similar manner to customer reviews when you want to buy something. Like you never make, or almost never, make a decision to purchase an item until you've read how other people enjoyed using it and they recommend it and they don't have any complaints or things like that. So having testimonials of real people who have worked with you, who've known you for a while, maybe from your most recent role or from your earlier experiences, it's an extremely valuable thing to have. That's social proof. And social proof is extremely important. So those are the things that I would suggest to work on for Monique and to help her profile really stand out. Okay, so I'm going to then stop sharing for a bit. And I'm going to read some comments because unfortunately I could not see them as I was reviewing profiles. Okay, this is a great question from David, actually. Is there a list of the most frequently used key search words? So, David, everything depends on your industry, your specialization, and the types of roles you're looking for. So, imagine if you are a business analyst or you are a CFO of a bank. There is no way that the two people would have exactly the same list of keywords that are most frequently used or most frequently searched. So really, those keywords come from your background, and they come from the types of roles that you're targeting. So if you're targeting business analyst opportunities, for example, you would look at a few job descriptions for a business analyst. You can use LinkedIn for that. You can find some openings for a business analyst. Let's say across the country or in your area, it doesn't matter. You would analyze them and you would see which keywords are used frequently for those types of roles. You would see which skills are in demand or which expectations are attached to the skill set that a business analyst brings to the table. And those would be more relevant if that's what you're after. So there's no such thing as universal keywords. They are highly specific depending on the industry and the type of role you're looking for. Okay, great question from Nadia. How many skills do you recommend to include in the skills section? So I believe that you can include something like up to 40 or 50. I can't remember for sure, but something in those in that range. I would say that really it's not the number of skills that matters so much, but more the quality of the skills. So I'm not going to suggest that you have to fill up your skills section to the absolute max. But at the same time, if you do it, that's also okay. As long as your skills section has those skills that are not just generic. So not just teamwork or problem solving or communication or leadership. And I know that I'm only naming soft skills, but those are like the most common buzzwords that everybody puts on their profiles or resumes. And that's the main reason why they're so devalued these days. Like when you see leadership just by itself, you no longer, like, it's very hard for you to understand whether that's in fact true. Like, does this person actually possess leadership skills? Or are they just saying that because they believe that that sounds good? So it requires verification. But skills that are specific to your industry, again, they could be hard skills or they could be soft skills, but they are specific to your profession, specific to your industry. So for example, in my example, I could say, like, I'm a coach. So I could say coaching is one of my skills. But coaching can be like coaching for what? So it requires a lot of follow-up questions. But if I tell you interview coaching, then right away you understand what I mean. And right away, this tells you that that's what I specialize in, or at least that's one of the areas. So that's what I mean by targeted skill. It narrows down the general understanding, like leadership or coaching or something, and it actually zooms in onto that specific aspect that you want to highlight. And usually that should come from the types of, not just the types of jobs you've had in the past. it can actually come from the types of jobs you want in the future. Okay. Yeah, so some people are correcting, there's 50. Okay, cool. So there are 50 skills that you can include, apparently. Okay. How important are recommendations from colleagues who didn't supervise us? Any recommendation is important. Of course, if it's somebody who supervised you directly, that's a very valuable recommendation. But it doesn't mean that if the recommendation is coming from somebody else, then that recommendation doesn't matter. Recommendation from your teammate or coworker or a person in another department who you've interacted with on a regular basis also matters, because it still speaks to the quality of the work you do, what's it like, or what is the experience like collaborating with you or interacting with you. So it still provides some of that credibility and some of that social proof that I was referring to. So really, any recommendation is valuable. Okay, I'm going to move on to our next profile. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so Tanya, I imagine, is the right pronunciation. I'm sorry if I'm completely like off track with this. I apologize, but I hope that that was correct. Okay, so let's take a look. So this is one of those examples where the banner image is more professional and more tailored towards, like, it becomes part of the first impression or the overall brand. So that's what I was referring to earlier. And as you can see, there's the audio feature that I was talking about. I'm not going to play it just because you won't hear it anyway, because I'm using headphones. But good news, if I wanted to check out the right pronunciation, I would be able to do that. So that's something. Okay, so here the headline is definitely a little bit more optimized. So she's using some keywords that speak to key areas of her expertise. The one thing that kind of makes me think, like cost reduction. So that skill by itself, I mean, that's great. But this type of format where you're actually sharing some specifics around what that means is a lot more valuable and helpful. Because again, cost reduction by itself probably would not be like the only search term that a person would use. Like nobody would put just cost reduction without anything else. If they were looking for that particular skill or a person who knows how to reduce costs, for example. So it would always apply to a certain context rather than simply be a term by itself. So if we're assuming that, for example, this portion has her covered in terms of the skill, in terms of the keywords for the areas of expertise. So this type of format provides us context as to like the impact of the work that Tanya does. So that's really cool. And I like having those slogan type headlines. I personally like it. I'm not saying that this is like the ultimate truth or something and everybody has to have them, but I personally really like them because they add personality to a profile and they help a profile stand out. So I personally think that this is a great idea. But again, a slogan alone by itself may not be effective at all. So it can only be effective when it complements some other search terms that are relevant to your job or to your industry. So please don't take what I say to mean like an extreme where it's one or the other. It's actually the combination. That's the ideal mix. And if you look at my profile, for example, I have that too. So I have a slogan that is mostly related to the value I deliver to other people, which is what we're looking at here. But it's used in combination with other things. So one quick comment on the open to work stuff. So you would find very conflicting opinions on like whether you should or should not use the open to work setting on your LinkedIn profile. I personally consider myself in the team of people who are against it. And the reason is because usually that does not add value in terms of, so imagine two profiles that are similar in terms of like they're both well optimized. They talk about the value of the work the person delivers. It talks about the key strength of each person. But then one of them says they're open to work and the other one does not have that. Does that make a difference? Does that make you reach out first to the person who is open to work versus the person who isn't? Not really. Sometimes, actually, if you ask recruiters, they might agree. So if you are a recruiter, please feel free to share your perspective on this in the comments. Totally okay if the perspective you have is different from mine. Again, like the stuff with open to work, I find is very subjective. So I wouldn't say that it's either or. Everybody decides for themselves. But ultimately, when I was a recruiter, for example, I was more attracted to profiles of people who are currently employed and having that idea of like, they are already in demand and I get a chance to pitch another opportunity to them and get them to switch their jobs to the company that I work for. And a lot of recruiters think like that too. I'm not saying that everybody does. Like I said, not a universal principle. But what I'm saying is by saying that you're open to work, really, I personally don't see a lot of value in that. Other people might disagree, but you've heard what I think. And then basically it's up to you to see which perspective resonates with you more. Because you can actually make this setting visible to recruiters only, by the way. So there is a setting where you can, like here, you can see that all of us can see which types of roles she is looking for. But if she only, if she set it to be visible to recruiters only, then only people who use LinkedIn Recruiter, so not LinkedIn, the average one for mere mortals, or LinkedIn Premium even, but LinkedIn Recruiter, which is what recruiters use, only they would be able to see this type of information. And that's okay. You can do that. So you can signal to recruiters that you're looking, but you wouldn't be signaling that to everybody on LinkedIn. So yeah, those are my 2 cents. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit just to see what else we find on here. Okay, so the interesting thing is that here Tanya talks about like her kind of vision for her profession or for supply chain, like her area of expertise in general, which is an interesting opener. Like it's definitely different from what you would normally see. Like she's not starting with, I'm a supply chain management professional with 20 years of experience, like none of that boring stuff. So there's something here that draws attention and engages. And on top of that, there are some numbers that are also like they usually do draw attention. The only thing that I don't like about this, I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just generally speaking, one long paragraph is very hard to skim through when you're looking very quickly, because nobody's going to spend an hour or even 15 minutes looking at your profile. I mean, I'm doing that because that's the goal of today's live stream. But if I were, if I were in a rush to look through multiple profiles, I would like quickly skim through. And if I can't read that, I'm moving on. So that's what most people do. And that's what I don't want you to, I don't want you to make that, to make it harder for other people to read through the content of your LinkedIn profile. Our goal is to make it as easy and seamless as possible for other people to review the content of your profile in a matter of seconds and decide whether they want to reach out or not. Again, there's some stuff about like, I would probably work on rewriting some of these things because there's like some phrases that are a little bit questionable, like another approach would be. So it's not the most straightforward way to get straight to the point. And again, because nobody's going to read through that and spend a lot of time reading through that, we want to get that point across as quickly as possible. So you want to have more proactive phrases in your profile where you get straight to the value of what you do or what sets you apart or what your strength is and how that strength shows up in your daily work, for example, something like that. But it has to be quick. It has to be like in a snap, you're getting to the point versus like having some very complex structures and like this talking about some approaches and things. Like get straight to the point of why that matters to the reader and why that aligns with, you know, what you bring to the table. Okay, this is interesting. So there's a current experience that's going on that is undisclosed. I'm not going to ask why, but let's just say it's not common. I haven't seen too many LinkedIn profiles that would have that, because usually your most recent role is where most of the attention goes to right away of whoever is viewing your profile. And if you can't have any information about that, I mean, it's interesting. So I would need more information, but for the sake of today's live, let's just say that it's not common. Okay, so the rest of the experience, well, what I like is that there are quantifiable things. So you see right off the bat, when you open up this profile, the first thing you see are numbers. And that's great, because numbers are, they get attention, they get noticed, they get people interested. And that's what we want. That's what makes them want to find out more about, hey, what else can she do? Hey, what else has she done in the past? If you don't have any quantifiable things, that becomes a little bit more complicated. And to preface everybody who's going to say or even think to themselves that, but I don't have enough quantifiable achievements, most of the work I do is more qualitative. No, absolutely. You have stuff that you can quantify. You just need to think a little bit outside of the box. And by that, I don't mean reinventing the wheel or coming up with something super genius. What I mean by that is looking at your experience from a slightly different angle, from a slightly different perspective. And then you'll see that you can quantify some things. Okay. Yeah, so I have some potential comments around formatting. Like, again, there's, you know, just attention to detail. If you want to split this into 2 paragraphs or something, why is there a skill just by itself? So I would work on some formatting, but the general direction is pretty good. So we're aiming for results and outcomes and accomplishments versus just tasks. So that's what I was talking about before. Okay, education, pretty straightforward. Okay, these skills seem more in line with like Tanya's background. So supply chain manager, definitely these could be the top skills that she would leverage in her daily work. But if you're a supply chain manager, and if this is something that, if this is like if this is the type of roles that you're going to continue your experience in, I would suggest that supply chain management could be a good one to add on here. Like, it's a pretty straightforward suggestion, considering that it's already in your job title. But supply chain definitely is a big keyword if you are a supply chain manager. So sometimes it could be as straightforward as that. Great, there are recommendations. I like that. Some projects, okay. Languages and things like that. Okay, yeah, so I hope that helped. Tanya has some work to do, but more on the formatting side of things versus anything else. Okay, I'm going to read through some of your comments. Yay, okay. Great question from Brenda. Do you suggest upgrading to LinkedIn Premium? Well, if I were to, like, if I were employed at LinkedIn, I sure would, but I'm not. So LinkedIn, I've done work for LinkedIn. Unfortunately, LinkedIn doesn't pay me yet. So it depends. It depends on what you want from this platform. There are some things that are definitely valuable about LinkedIn Premium. Whether they are game changers, like, it depends. Like, I use LinkedIn every single day, and I have like 70 something thousand people following me. So I've built a pretty sizable community on here, and I've done that without ever having to use LinkedIn Premium. And like all the opportunities that I found through LinkedIn happened without that. That is not to say that that would be the case for you. So it really depends on what you want from LinkedIn and what kind of things can make your usage of LinkedIn a little bit more enjoyable or a little bit easier. So like if you wanted to access LinkedIn Learning more frequently, for example, that's one of the things that LinkedIn Premium offers. You would also have access to like every single person who viewed your profile versus like the regular LinkedIn does not give you that. So that technically that's an opportunity to connect with the people who have already been to your profile and who have seen your profile. But again, is it a game changer? I don't know. You can survive without it. So really it depends on your individual goals. That's a good point, Michelle. Quick and in a snap is tough to summarize. I know. I write a lot of stuff for my clients, so I know. And it takes some time, and it's definitely a skill. But luckily, there are tools to help you with that. So even ChatGPT, again, I'm going to emphasize that if you put in stuff that is not very well written into ChatGPT, expecting it to give you a great result, that's not going to happen. But, and I've done that with my own resume. So when I had to write a resume for myself, that's what I did. I wrote something that I would intuitively write if I didn't have a lot of writing practice or writing expertise. And then I asked, as an exercise, I asked ChatGPT to help me optimize those phrases. So to help them, like, can you help me formulate that in a more condensed way without, sacrificing quality? So try different prompts if you haven't tried them yet, and see if that helps. Because usually it does a pretty good job, but again, highly dependent on the type of stuff that you put in. So if you put in garbage, you can't expect ChatGPT to create a masterpiece. It's going to give you garbage back. I'm sorry for the blunt delivery of that concept. Okay, question from David. Do you recommend including no more than 15 years of work experience? That depends, David, on what kind of impression you want to create and what kind of jobs you're targeting. If you're targeting roles that specifically require or expect a person to have more than 15 years of experience in a certain industry or a certain area, then I would include all of those 15 years. But if you are someone who is targeting roles that don't require that, so for example, you're transitioning to a new industry or a new career, and you cannot stay at exactly the same seniority level as you were before. So you kind of have to, sacrifice something. And you are targeting roles realistically that do not require like 20 years of experience. And yet you, for example, have that. So in that case, the earlier experience becomes a lot less relevant. So I would say that it kind of depends on the situation and depends on which information would be most relevant. But all of that comes from understanding what it is that you want, what it is that you're after. If you're after roles that have this as a requirement, absolutely include all of it. If you're after roles that don't have that as a requirement, or even worse, what if you're concerned about age discrimination? So if you're someone who's been working for quite a while and now you're trying to do something else, starting over in a different profession, and you are concerned about people viewing your age as a factor, because let's be realistic, that happens. Like, I cannot tell you that age discrimination doesn't exist. So in that case, my answer would change. And in that case, I would suggest looking at maybe less than 15 years or maybe even less than 10 years of experience. But depends a lot on your goals. Okay, let's review one more, because we're actually almost an hour, like our hour is almost up. You guys, I talk so much. Okay. By the way, as I'm looking for the next profile, would you be interested in, do you think that it would be a good idea to have these lives on a more regular basis? Like if, let's say, we were to connect every week and review some profiles, would that be something that you would like? And if the answer is yes, please share that in the comments, because I genuinely want to know. So this is not a question into thin air. I'm actually asking because I'm actually curious. Okay. Let's look at Petra's profile. Okay, so again, Petra and I are not connected. And I'll check out your comments later as I finish this profile, by the way. So if you are still typing and commenting, that's awesome. And I'll get back to that in a little bit. Okay, so we're not connecting with we're not connected, which is okay. But I can see her full name and like full information on her profile, which is great. I like the headshot. I would maybe zoom in on your face a little bit more, but other than that, looking good. No banner here, so no background image. I would suggest using one. And I think if you are still here, Petra, you've already heard that it has the potential to be connected and related to the industry you're in or to the types of roles you're after. So there's definitely some room for creativity and improvement. Okay, so the About section. Okay, so the good news is that we can right away, in a very quick second, we can see what Petra specializes in and what kind of experience she has. So she tells us right away the areas where she focuses, and that's very helpful. But again, this is a very general description, so it can sound pretty average in terms of I'm already thinking how this profile would compare to other people in your world, Petra, for example, so in your industry. And I would say that probably it would be very similar. So I would suggest adding a little bit more personality to your About section, and you could look at it as you can start with who you are, which is what you already did. You can then follow up with what you do, which is kind of this portion. So you, in a way, told us what it is that you've done in your extensive experience. Then you can talk about how you do it. So what sets you apart. And you did a little bit here, but enjoying something versus that something adding value are two very different things. So instead of simply saying that you enjoy something, I would highlight how that sets you apart and adds even more value in terms of outcomes and results. So that's what this About section is definitely missing. Some specific outcomes and some value that came out from all of that extensive experience that you have. Okay, wow, that's a very lengthy list of responsibilities. So again, these are mainly responsibilities that are probably copied from a resume. I'm just going to repeat something I've already said earlier. Responsibilities, yes, you are getting some keywords. So for example, if people were looking for does she understand certain technical things or certain tools? Does she have any experience working with those? Yes, they would find that information, but they would also find that information on somebody else's profile. So your competitor, another candidate who has a similar background, who could have potentially the exact same or very similar information. So job functions are not enough. The value, we're always focused on results and outcomes. And of course, this list is way too extensive for a LinkedIn profile. So you could potentially get away with half of that, if not less. I would say 5 or 6 bullet points and maybe a very short summary paragraph is pretty much everything you need for the purposes of enticing curiosity in another person. So what I mean by that is you are making it look making your profile look so compelling and interesting that another person wants to reach out. That's what it is. And you don't need all of that information to do that. Okay, so the same thing applies to all the other roles that you've had in the past, Petra. So I'm just going to scroll through. Okay, there's education, there are some licenses. Okay. Okay, so skills. I would imagine that in this type of role, so something that has to do with clinical research or acute care or nursing or like this type of stuff, there is more targeted and more valuable skills than just something as general as work process optimization. You can still have that skill on the list of your 50, but the top 3 can definitely be a little bit more impactful than what you currently have. Quality control, okay, maybe that could be a really important skill, especially like a lab environment and stuff. But I would suggest looking at more impactful skills that people are after when they're looking for someone with your type of background. And no recommendations. So Petra, I would suggest that you reach out to some people who've worked with you, who maybe have supervised you or who've worked in the same team, who have participated on the same projects with you, and encourage them or invite them to share their experience of working with you on your profile. You can actually do that by asking for a recommendation. It's okay to ask for a recommendation. Totally okay. And you can give a recommendation to another person. Okay. Okay, I can see that a lot of people are saying yes to the regular LinkedIn reviews, so that's great. I'll see if I can make it work, but I'm super excited and I think it could be really valuable, and it would give us a chance to connect more often like this. Like this is a lot more fun than just reading things on in messages or on your profiles. Okay, so Michelle is asking, can you rearrange skills? Yeah, you absolutely can. You can reorder them. So when you click on edit in your skills section, you can see those 2 arrows up and down, and it says reorder. So you can drag them up and down and you can move things around. So if, for example, lower on the list, you have more impactful skills and you want to move them up to top 3, you can do that. So that's a great question. I hardly updated my LinkedIn profile. I think I need to improve it big time. Well, Anis, you're not alone. A lot of people, like I talked in the beginning, a lot of people are underutilizing what LinkedIn has to offer. So your LinkedIn profile is like your first impression in the business world, and it can be such a huge resource for new opportunities or for career growth. So if your LinkedIn profile is outdated, well, no wonder that LinkedIn as a platform seems pretty useless in your life, because if you want it to be more helpful, you have to invest something in it first. So, and the very first and basic investment that you can do is invest in your profile, invest in that opportunity to showcase everything you have to offer, because all of that is valuable, but it's not obvious to other people that you have that. So there is really no point in hiding that or being intimidated of showing that, because you have to put yourself out there. That's the only way how people can get to know you a little bit better and at least start a conversation. And that's where more opportunities can come from. So thank you for sharing that, actually. Another question from Michelle. LinkedIn shouldn't be a mirror copy of a resume, correct? Absolutely. The analogy that I usually use, that it's kind of helpful to understand the difference, because a lot of people are still very much confused about the difference. And let's see if actually anyone who is still here after this hour, if you can tell the difference between a LinkedIn profile and a resume, like if you understand what needs to be different about the two, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to share mine, but if you have other ideas, please feel free, and it'll be great to check them out as well. So the analogy that I usually use is, imagine you want to see an object that is far away. So for example, there's like a building that you can see from your window, but it's pretty far. So the first thing, like if you wanted to see it a little bit better, a little bit more clearly, the first thing you would do is you would turn like in the direction of that building. Because if that building is there, but I'm looking over there, well, I won't be able to see it. So you give yourself that direction. So that's what your LinkedIn profile does. It turns you towards the types of opportunities, jobs, careers, partnerships, whatever, that are relevant to you, that are interesting to you. But then but looking in that direction, I could see multiple different buildings, but I want to zoom in on that particular one because that's my goal. That's where I want to be. So when I zoom in on that, that's what your resume does. So out of everything you have to offer, it gives only the snapshot of the most relevant experience for that particular thing, for that particular job at that particular company. And that's why in general, your LinkedIn profile is a little bit broader than your resume. And it's not as specific in some cases, but it still needs to be looking in the same direction. So if you're after jobs in clinical research, but your LinkedIn profile talks about your amazing experience as an artist, as much as that experience could be valuable, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you cannot expect a LinkedIn profile like that to help you progress in the direction of clinical research. So that's the analogy that I usually use. Okay. Actually, I have an idea that I wanted to run by you as well and see what you guys think before we part ways for today and see each other next time. So if anyone here, would you be interested in exploring an opportunity to learn how to leverage LinkedIn in a group setting? So I've been working with clients one-on-one a lot in terms of like helping them understand LinkedIn better, helping them optimize their LinkedIn profiles. But now I realize that there are so many common challenges that people are facing that are essentially very, very similar to one another. That's one thing. And the other thing, there's a huge benefit of learning together in a community. So that's why I'm hoping to create a group coaching service to help people progress and step up their LinkedIn game, specifically focused on leveraging LinkedIn. So if you're someone who wants to learn how to optimize your profile or understand the best practices or understand how to write a profile that actually works, that actually gets you the result that you want, that could be one of the goals that we would work on. Or if you want a networking strategy, so if you want to grow your network in a very meaningful way and you want to connect with professionals in your industry and become more visible in your industry, so create an actual networking strategic plan of how you're going to network. So that's another thing that we could work on. Creating content, learning best practices for showcasing your expertise and your thought leadership. Another one, personal branding on LinkedIn. So the goals could be very different. But I was thinking that it could be cool to do that in a small group setting, like 3 to 5 people, no more, and meet together on a weekly basis. And essentially, I would share all the best practices that I've learned through my experience on LinkedIn. And like I said, I believe that I'm a pretty credible source in that regard because I've created my LinkedIn from scratch for myself. And now that is the main engine of all the opportunities that I have, all the speaking gigs, all the clients I work with. Most of that comes from my LinkedIn, from the visibility I have on LinkedIn. So I would love to share that stuff with more people and help you progress week after week. So if that's something that you're interested in, or at least that sounds interesting and you want to learn more, message me, please, because I won't be able to, I'm not going to spend another half hour telling you more about this. But if you message me, I'll be happy to share some more information and we'll see if we can make it work, because that'll be a new format for me as well. So it will be kind of a test run, but I have a pretty good idea of what that would look like. And most importantly, I know that it would add value to you. That's the main reason why I want to do it, because I know that it can get so many people so much valuable knowledge and develop that skill that comes from practice. But doing it alone just sucks sometimes, let's be honest. So doing that in a community can be a lot more encouraging. Okay, guys, I can see that some people are interested. That's awesome. Please feel free to message me directly on LinkedIn or comment afterwards, and I'll be happy to share more information because I know that wasn't a lot to go on with. I hope that we'll do this again, and thank you all so much for joining. We did only 3 profiles today, but I did wanted to go into a little bit more detail and share some learnings that would be applicable or relevant to everyone here. So thank you all so much for being here. It's been lovely. And I love connecting in this type of way where I can just go live and have that I like actually interact versus just read comments, usually with a big delay. So thank you all so much for this. It's been awesome. And I hope to see you again next week. Okay, see ya.